believes I can't sleep.
It's time to listen to Courtney at last on the Ramblings of an Insomniac podcast.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. I am Courtney. Hello, how the heck are ya? Well, again, hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving me a shot. I don't know if you're on your way to work, on your way home from work, on your way to run errands. Maybe you're just hanging out at home and you're cleaning and doing stuff at home, listening. Maybe you're trying to fall asleep and I somehow put you to sleep. Maybe because I'm really boring. I don't think my voice is especially soothing. Maybe, I don't know. I've never had anybody tell me I have a soothing voice, so I doubt anyone's listening to me unless you're like maybe from New York or something and you fall asleep to more of like a harsh sound. Ugh. Okay, so I ended up getting a phone call and now I'm stuffing my face. But again, maybe you like my harsh sound. Maybe you like my voice. And some people can fall asleep to like sirens and loud noises. So maybe my voice is put you to sleep. But wherever you are, whatever you're doing, no matter why you're listening, I just am thankful that you are. So thank you. So, hey, what is preventing me from counting sheep, from sleeping the night away, from catching some Z's? Addicts. Addicts are preventing me from not only sleeping, but just breathing and living, and from preventing me from feeling safe or happy. And it's just exhausting, you know? To anybody out there who's been around addicts, whether they used to live with one or, you know, had a family member, a spouse, friends, whatever, you just start to get, I don't want to say annoyed, because I understand that, again, when you're an addict, it's a disease and you're not trying to be shady and you're not trying to be an asshole and stuff. But unfortunately, some people just are. And regardless if you're trying, if you're making the conscious choice to be an ass or to lie or to manipulate and deceive or not, although I don't see how you can accidentally lie and accidentally deceive and accidentally, you know, cheat and stuff. I don't feel like that's something you can do accidentally. Hey, guys. But it gets exhausting. And when an abuser does something like, you know, abuse you mentally or physically, and then they think they can make up for it by being really extra nice and doing nice things for you and trying to buy trips for you or take you places, it starts to get really, you're like, really, you think that you can hurt me mentally and or physically and that you can just buy me off? And in their head, I think they genuinely are like, all right, I made up for that. I made up for the abuse. And in their head, they think that all the rights of the world have been wronged if they, you know, go a day without calling you a name, or if they allow you to do something. Control freaks. I don't like being around control freaks either. They're just as bad as addicts. And when I say control freaks, I mean people that genuinely will do something like kick you out and make you leave your own home, but then at the same time say, but don't take the car. The car's for me. Why did you leave? Why'd you take the car? And you're like, well, you kicked me out. And then when you take the car, they're like, how dare you take the car? How dare you leave me stranded here? How dare you leave without me? But the manipulation and the control that goes into someone that is an abuser is crazy. And sometimes I think they genuinely convince themselves that they didn't lie. They're so pathological that they honestly believe their own lies. They believe their lies and they don't feel that they're doing anything wrong. It's like they just black out and forget that they say and do things that are not okay. And if you've been around those people for any period of time, when you finally have had enough and you're finally like, I deserve more. I'm better than this. I deserve more than this. I need to take my life back. I need to not waste what's left of it. It's weird because it sometimes is hard. And I don't know that everybody understands that because they're like, why would you not want to get away from an abusive person or an addict? Why would that be difficult? Why on earth would that be a difficult choice? Because number one, you remember who they are before they were an addict or before they became abusive. And you hope and pray that they return back to that person. And you think in your head that they're going to. You think that you can nurture them and love them to the point that they will change. You think that if you're just there for them unconditionally, you're going to be that person that helps them. You're going to be that person that makes them see the light. And that's kind of narcissistic on our end, really. Because who are we? We're not God. We're not their parent. We're not a psychiatrist. I mean, maybe you are a psychiatrist. Maybe you are their parent, but you aren't God. And people usually, they want to change. If they want to change, if it's their decision, usually the odds are a lot better of them succeeding. But most aren't going to change for somebody else. Maybe they'll try. Maybe they want to. Maybe they want to change for a partner, or maybe they've had children and they want to be a good dad or mom and they want to change for their child. And sometimes it does take your child to make you stop drinking or doing drugs. And so I'm not saying you can't do it for someone else, but you have to still want to. You have to be like, I want to change. I feel there's a problem. I'm addressing that there's a problem. I admit that there's a problem, and I want to change for myself because I want to be a good parent or spouse, friend, whatever. But if, Mo, come on, Mo. But if they don't want to change, it's not going to work. But you hold on to that. You hold on to, well, why, I should be enough. I should be something they want to, do better for and have a healthy relationship and get along. Like, why wouldn't your partner not want to get along? Why would they want to continue to abuse you or drink and do things that aren't good for your relationship? So you just keep holding on to that. And it's so cliche. It is so freaking cliche. And everyone says they're not going to do it and they won't do it. And how could somebody else do it? And you see when other people do it, you're like, I have friends that are in bad relationships and I'm just like, come on, how do you not see this? And they do. The answer is usually they do. They're well aware that they're in a bad relationship. It's not normally an issue of people not knowing that they're in a bad relationship. Trust me, they're well aware of it because they're the ones going through it. They're the ones with the addict or being abused in some fashion. So they're well aware. They don't need other people to tell them that. It's not news. I think that's the misconception is people are like, how do they not know? Well, they know. It's just the question is, why don't we leave? And I can only speak for myself, of course, why people don't leave. I've been in many. I'm not talking about any specific relationship. I'm not talking about any certain relationship. I'm just talking about relationships as a whole that I've been in that were abusive. I'll tell you the reason I didn't leave. It's either because I thought they would change. Come on, Bunny. Come on, Mo. I thought they would change. I thought that if I loved them enough and was loyal and stuck with them and stuck it through, they would want to change. Again, that's just speaking for me. I don't know what other people's reason. Maybe people have children and they feel, I hear this a lot, I need to stay for the kids. Well, I got divorced It was not an abusive relationship that I got divorced from, but I got divorced and we had kids. And one of them, one of my sons was only 5 months old when we got divorced, and the other was only 4. And we decided for the kids, we felt that divorce was necessary for the kids because we didn't want to continue to fight in front of them. And yes, you were like, you should, I'm sure you guys are like, well, don't fight in front of the kids. That's awful. Don't ever fight in front of the kids. And we rarely did. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes we did. We definitely sometimes fought in front of the kids. But we tried counseling, and unfortunately we got together when I was very young. I was only 14 when we got together. We got married because we felt we had to, because we had a son together and we thought it was the right thing to do. Well, actually, we didn't even think it was the right thing to do. We knew it was stupid because we knew we didn't get along very well, and we knew it wasn't the right reason to get married. We didn't even get along very well. We got together so young, but everybody else was kind of pressuring us and we felt the pressure. So we got married because we were like, well, okay, we don't hate each other. Isn't that a real, well, we don't hate each other and we have a kid, so let's just get married. We shouldn't have. And now we don't hate each other. We always went to events together. We went to sporting events together and conferences and everything together. And we hung out a lot. We just can't be married. We have stayed very amicable. We still, try to do things together sometimes. And even if, one of us has a partner, we still hang out because I feel that's healthy. I mean, my sons are adults now, so we don't really need to do that so much anymore. And we don't really do that so much anymore, but we try to get along regardless. But sometimes you can try counseling and can try all the things and it still doesn't work. And sometimes the best thing to do is not be together for your kids because your kids can sense. Let me tell you, as a product of, I've had 3 fathers and obviously one biological 2-step. And I can tell you as a product of abusive homes, kids know when things aren't going well with their parents, even if they're just not talking, because just not talking, parents should be talking. Parents should be talking to one another. Parents should be hanging out with each other. So when a child doesn't ever see their parents hanging out or talking, that's a problem. And when kids see their parents fighting, that's a problem. So kids are observant. They're not stupid, even when they're young. Even when they're young, they're observant and they aren't dumb and they can pick up if there's a healthy relationship. Some people are better hiding it than others. But point being, speaking for myself, I stayed in that relationship because we had a son together and then we ended up having another son. And we were like, well, we have 2 kids. We've been together for a long time. We may as well, stick it out. We were together from when I was 14, on and off from when I was 14 until I was 24. 24 is when we got divorced. I got married when I was when I was 20. He was 21. And divorced when I was 24 and he was 25. Because got another phone call, another pause. But anyway, sometimes people shouldn't get married and sometimes it's actually better, even if you've tried counseling. I'm not a fan of people just getting divorced and not even trying. Again, of course, if you're being abused or someone's cheating on you or whatever, and you're being abused and your children or something are being abused, then definitely counseling is probably not, what you should be doing. You need to get out of there and be safe and protect yourself from the situation. And by the way, I'm not just talking about men being abusive. Women are abusive as well. Women can be physically and mentally abusive. Women can cheat. Women can be the cause of the problem. So I am not hating on men at all. If you've listened to any of my podcasts, you will know I'm not some feminist or some man hater. I think I judge humans by the individual person. But addiction and anybody that is living with someone that is an addict, people like to say, well, that's your fault. That's your fault that you got together with someone that's an addict. Well, maybe you didn't know that person was an addict. Maybe they hid it. Maybe they didn't tell you. Hey, maybe they didn't show any signs, or maybe they didn't become one until, after you guys got together. Who knows? We don't know circumstances. I hate it when people try to weigh in. I've done it. I have to admit I've done it. But when you weigh in on things, when you don't have all of the information, when you don't have all the facts, that happens a lot in today's day and age. We tend to, especially with videos that can be altered so easily. AI now can make videos that seem so real, and people can edit and edit and edit and make things seem so different than what is actually happening. And so in this day of social media, all the TikToks and YouTube videos and stuff out there, we don't know what is, necessarily real. We don't know what's been edited. And with all the misinformation of the media, unfortunately, it's sad because I think it's a weird predicament. I feel like half the world has gotten so cynical they don't believe anything that they see or hear. They're like, whatever, I don't believe it because the media has lied to me so much. Our government has lied to us so much and celebrities are getting away with everything, and the world is so upside down that I just don't believe crap anymore. I don't believe crap unless I personally see it and go through it. I don't believe any of it. And then there's the world that's like, looks at, I think it's kind of the older generation that was from the era of when you watch the news used to be where you got actual facts. Journalists used to actually do their research and go out in the field and gather information. I've said this on many podcasts. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but journalists used to be actual journalists. They cared. They cared about getting you the correct information. They cared about going out in the field, gathering data, gathering statistics, talking to people, and then giving you the facts, not their opinion, not trying to shove their agenda down any of our throats. They just gave you what we needed to know and then allowed us as adults, as humans, to make choices. Well, sometimes when you're with your get together with somebody, you don't gather all the information, or you don't have all the information. Maybe it's not even a matter of you didn't gather it. You didn't have it all. They lied and they kept things from you and you didn't know. Maybe you were too blind and you didn't see the signs. Maybe they showed signs and you just were so in love or so enamored, you thought, well, these can be easily, explained away to other things. Or maybe it was a one-time thing. And you just start to make excuses, I guess. And it's sad because pretty soon time goes by, whether it's a week, a month, a year, 10 years, 13 years, and you go, well, shit. Now here I am, and I've just wasted a huge amount of my time with somebody who clearly disrespects me and themselves. They clearly have no value. They give me no value. And I know that because if someone is willing to lie to you and put you down and mentally abuse you and or physically abuse you or cheat on you and spread misinformation, then clearly they do not respect you or love you. People are like, you can love somebody and you can have good intentions and still love somebody. Yeah, but you don't lie or cheat or physically harm or mentally harm those that you respect and love. You just don't. And again, products of addicts will convince themselves that that is their love, or start feeling like they just get used to it and they get numb to it and they turn a blind eye to it. But you can only be called fucking pathetic and fucking worthless and a piece of shit and lower than scum and say that someone wants to set you on fire enough times to where you're like, maybe this is not the best relationship to be in. Maybe this isn't healthy. And so when you make that decision, you're scared shitless. I think you go through the motions like you do when you're grieving. You're kind of in a state of denial at first, and then you are in a state of acceptance, and then you grieve. And then finally you see that light and you're like, I'm going to be good. This person had no idea what I was capable of. Or maybe that person absolutely knows what you're capable of. And because they know you're capable of so much more than what they're telling you, They don't want you to believe that you have worth and value. No, because if you believe you have worth and value, you'll leave them. If you start believing in yourself and finding your strength and moving on, then they're left to stew and wallow in their own self-pity. They're left to sit there and bathe in their own filth. And they're left with their own demons, and they're left with just the voices in their head. They don't have anybody around to punch anymore. They don't have anybody to feed their narcissism. They have nobody else to feed their control, to feed their anger, to feed their insecurities. So then they threaten you and they try to scare you. And you just have to know that that is what they do to try to keep you. And so you have the choice to believe in all of their nonsense and continue to put up with all their nonsense, or leave. And man, it is not an easy choice at all. When I say you have two choices, those are really, really, really difficult choices, both of them. And people, again, probably say, how is it that leaving is a difficult choice? It is, because what if you're leaving your home? What if you're leaving your animals? What if you're leaving your friends? And what if you have to now suddenly live on one income? And what if you suddenly have to move away from friends and family? What if you have to get a new job? It costs money to move. It costs time and energy to move. It's a huge change, especially if you have children, especially if you have pets. There's a lot involved. There's a lot of things at play when you make the decision to move on. But there's these stages that you go through. And when you finally get to the place where you can look at the person that you used to be with and just feel sorry for them and be like, I don't have to listen. I forgot that I can hang up the phone, or I can go back to my own house, or I can say, I'm sorry you feel that way. Or I guess that's kind of passive aggressive, though, to say, I'm sorry you feel that way. But you don't have to listen to it anymore. When you finally decide that, it's pretty liberating. Once you go through all the stages, and some people don't go through any of it. They're just like, fuck you, I'm out of here. Peace out, Girl Scout. Don't let the door, I'm not going to let the door hit me on the way out. I'm out of here. And they have no regrets, and they're not sad, and it's easy. And that is amazing. That is amazing. But just know that there are choices, and we do need to look at all the facts and all the angles and realize that usually addicts are going to do everything they can to try, because misery loves company. That's what the Democrats do. Kamala loves to bring up Trump. Trump. The libs love to just constantly talk about Trump because misery loves company. Nothing else is working for them. That's not even working for them. People get real tired of those that just sit in their own filth and stew and just constantly are negative and put others down. There's a limit. I think everybody has one. We all have different limits. Some of us can take a lot. Some of us take a little. And I think America has reached their limit. I think a lot of people are waking up and saying, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being told, you ain't black if you don't vote for Biden. You ain't black. You don't get to define somebody else. That's not for you to do. You are not God. You are not. Who are you? Clean your own skeletons out of your own closet before you go knocking on someone else's with your broom in hand. If you're showing up as a cleaning service to somebody else's doorstep before your house is kept, is your own house kept clean? Because if not, we don't really have room to tell others how we should handle things, because we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Of course, everybody, like a normal person, is going to have something to say about someone that's being abusive, or if someone's outside yelling and screaming and being obnoxious and they're drunk and fighting someone, obviously that's not okay, and you're going to have an opinion. Before you know all the information, before you've gathered all the facts, I'm sure the first thing going through your mind is, wow, that person's really loud and obnoxious. Wow, that person's really drunk, and that's ridiculous. But we don't know why they became drunk. Maybe they are drunk because they lost a child, because they had something tragic happen. Again, that doesn't make it okay to like fight with people and be obnoxious, but we can have a little more grace. We can have a little more understanding, a little more compassion of where that person's coming from and why they are behaving the way they are. But it doesn't mean you have to stay with someone. You can have compassion and kindness for why someone's an addict or why someone's abusive, in the sense that, again, I'm not saying that it's okay for someone to abuse, but maybe be like, wow, they were so abused as a child, mentally and physically, and they've seen and been around so much abuse that unfortunately they themselves became an abuser. So you can have that empathy. Still doesn't make it right. The Democrats, you can be like, wow, they just love misery. They love keeping people down. And I'm not really sure what angle I can come at that's a good angle as to why they are the way they are, because they just want the power. They're that way because power, power, power. And again, we're just feeding that monster. We're feeding into their insecurities. We're feeding into their manipulation. We're allowing them to manipulate us because we don't have all of the information, because we're not seeing everything clearly, because we're being fed fake information. And again, even when we watch videos now, they're edited and edited. So who are we supposed to trust? If you can't trust your own family because they're abusive or addicts, and you can't trust our government, I mean, it's really hard not to be a jaded person in today's day and age, you know? It's difficult to trust anybody nowadays. And that's sad. What a cynical, depressing world to live in. It's just going to get worse if Kamala is, if she becomes president. That'll be something. And frankly, I'm tired of the negativity. I have opened my eyes and made some choices for myself that are so much better for my mental health, so much better for my physical health, but are really, really difficult, have been incredibly difficult. Mosby, let's go. And while I've made difficult decisions, I've had to work, and I've had to be a mom and a grandparent and a friend and take care of dogs and clean my house and pay my bills and not drink and not do drugs and not be abusive. When I have gone through stuff, I have chosen not to do drugs or drink. When I have gone through stuff, I have chosen not to abuse people. That doesn't make me a better person. I'm not on my high horse, because trust me, I haven't handled things well. I haven't handled everything well. There are many things I have mishandled, and I have been a jerk, and I haven't been strong, and that's not good. But when you finally have your dignity back and you start realizing that you're worth something, it feels good. And your abuser will probably say, oh, so you're happy? You don't give a shit that we're not together. You don't give a crap about me. You don't care about me. Look at you. You're all happy. You're happy. Again, that's them trying to make you feel guilty for being happy. Someone that loves you wouldn't be upset that you're happy. Someone that loves you would want you to be happy. And it doesn't mean that it's not hard. If you are happy because you are feeling safe and secure now, that doesn't mean that it's not hard, and it doesn't mean that you don't care about the person that you are with. You can care very, very deeply for that person. Just because you leave them doesn't mean that you didn't or still don't love them or care about them. It just means you've decided not to be controlled anymore and told what a worthless piece of crap you are. And yes, people are going to be very happy when they're no longer around abusive people. It's not fun to be told that you are fucking pathetic. It's not fun to be told that you don't care if they die. So when you're not around that, of course, people are going to be happy. I'm sure 99.9% of the population would feel happy to no longer be in a bad situation. So if you're in a relationship that is probably not the best, and if you are just having a hard time just remember that you have to put value on yourself. And if you don't put value on yourself, no one else is going to. Certainly not your abuser. They're not going to have any value for you if you don't have value for you. If you don't have respect for yourself, people aren't going to have respect for you. So I hope that if you were in a bad relationship, that you find that love and respect and power. And I hope you make the choice, no matter how difficult it is. There are a lot of resources out there. There are a lot of places out there that can help out. If you have friends and family, don't do what I do and always turn away help. I mean, getting help is okay. But speaking of bad relationships, I really hope that we don't stay in a relationship with the Biden administration. It's a bad relationship. It's an abusive relationship. The Biden administration, the liberal, the left, is abusive. They are an abusive spouse, physically and mentally. They destroy things. They set things on fire. They break things. They steal things and call it okay and make excuses. And then they try to tell you you're a piece of crap. And they verbally and mentally abuse you. And they try to bully and harass you. And they try to control you. It's an abusive relationship. The Biden administration is an incredibly abusive relationship that we need to get out of. We need a change. And again, if you do your own research and if you look around and you see what has been done and you hear the things that Kamala and Nancy Pelosi have said and the Democrat Party has said and all the threats they have made, it's an incredibly messed up relationship that we really desperately need to get out of. We need to make that choice. Even if you're normally a Democrat and you usually vote Democrat, you have to admit this is a pretty shady administration. So I am just hoping and praying, I'm crossing my fingers, I'm crossing my toes that Trump wins. Again, he's not some savior that can suddenly change the entire world around in 4 years, but he sure did a lot in the last 4 years that he was president. When he was president for 4 years, he did quite a bit. And he stayed true to his promises. And so it's going to take a lot of work to undo the shit show that Biden and Harris have done. It's going to take a lot of work. We can't expect miracles. He's not God. So we can't expect that. But we definitely, I think, will see some changes for the better. That is for sure. It certainly can't be worse. And I think that, again, I got to find my dog. Busby! Good boy. Sorry, guys. I think that, again, we'll be safer because leaders of other countries aren't going to look at us as weak. I'm genuinely scared for our country if Kamala gets voted in. I don't think we're going to be safe. And frankly, I'm tired of not feeling safe. I'm sick of it. I want to feel safe. Don't you? Don't you want your children and your children's children to be safe? Don't you want your family to be safe and your friends to be safe? Don't you want our country to be economically sound and healthy? I mean, I don't know about you, but having us not be so far in debt and people having jobs and having companies come back to America and not having, pharmaceutical companies that are in China putting God knows what into our medicine and into our food. I love that Robert Kennedy is getting involved into making America healthy again. They talked about that on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I love it because we do. The stuff that's in food now is disgusting and not healthy. And that's all to help out Big Farm, because then if we're unhealthy, well, then we have to take medicine. And if we keep taking medicine, well, then Big Farm makes a boatload of money. And again, we're giving the power to bullies, and we're giving the power to these big monsters that just feed and feed off of our insecurities and our weakness. And they prey on that. They prey on us not doing our research. And the Democrats love ignorance. They don't want us to be educated. I mean, again, here in Oregon, you do not have to speak English, be able to write English, be able to read English, or be able to do math to graduate. So what the fuck is the point on going to high school when you don't learn anything except about porn? You learn about, how to give a blowjob. You learn about how to cut your breasts and wiener off. You learn about they, them. You learn about Black Lives Matter. You learn about how much pieces of shit white people are. But you don't get an actual, I guess that's an education that you're getting educated. It's just with false information. So I'm worried, and I want us to vote. If you haven't voted already, get out there. We need it. We got to do this. We got to do it. And if you are in a relationship or with somebody that's an addict and they are spiraling, or you're in an abusive relationship, just know your worth. Remember your worth and decide if you don't respect yourself and you don't love yourself, no one else is going to. And even though it is so hard, I hope that you find the strength to get out. Hey, you know what? Thanks for listening. Thanks for always listening to my nonsense and my babble and my dogs and everything. Thanks for tuning in. You are appreciated. I love that there have been more and more people checking me out. It means a lot to me. So thank you very much. And until next time.